Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, where here in this Tier 9 domination battle on the Atlantic map, one of these teams, at least half of the team members, are going to do their level best to throw the match before the 10-minute mark, leaving the survivors to have to put in some truly spectacular efforts to drag the rest of the team kicking and screaming over the finish line. Where, said the internet in mock surprise. What exactly is special about that? Yeah, I know. Sad, but true. But when you're the ones having to do the dragging, it feels pretty intense, trust me. So anyway, who are the stars of today's show? Well, that would be Baylithwin here, in the USS Missouri, the Mighty Mo, Tier 9 Premium US Navy battleship, Iowa class, obviously. I mean, everybody knows who the Missouri is. But also HMS Flipper 1 in the Jaeger up ahead, and Haligonian in the other Jaeger. This is a 3-ship division, 2 destroyers, 1 battleship. Before we get started, just take a look at the minimap. You see that huge cluster of friendly ships sailing straight south over on the western side of the map, down towards Cap Circle Alpha? Yeah. They are all going to die before the halfway mark in this battle, and they're not going to take a single enemy ship with them. Well, you could argue the point that one of them does, but I will argue that point when it happens. Don't worry, you won't have too long to wait. Like I said, they're all going to be dead before the 10-minute mark in this battle. And I look forward to seeing your reactions in the comments. But anyway, Baylithwin here in the USS Missouri, the Mighty Mo. I mean, there's a lot been said about this ship. All you really need to know is it's an Iowa, except it has radar. Well, it also has an amazingly good credit multiplier, and I've spoken about that in great detail in the past, but we're not going to labour on it today because it doesn't affect the ship's battle performance one bit. To all intents and purposes, this is the USS Iowa, except it comes with radar. The 2 destroyers that Baylithwin here is divisioned up with, the 2 Jaegers, those are the Tier 9 Pan-European destroyers. They're Austro-Hungarian Empire destroyers. Talked in great detail about those things in the past too. But to summarise, right after Baylithwin gets his first salvo away at the enemy Mets over there, who escapes with minimal damage. Enemy submarine spotted. He's going to drop some depth charges, send out the strike aircraft. Actually, is he? No, I don't think he is. Right at the extreme limit of depth charge range, and he'll be out of range by the time they get there. But the Jaegers, their party piece is extremely fast and very, very rapid reloading torpedoes, which do minimal actual damage per hit. It's just the sheer volume of torpedoes that thing can put into the water at once that makes the Jaeger special. It's also extremely sneaky. 16-inch armor-piercing salvo at the enemy North Carolina, rewarded with a much, much better result. There's a Citadel. He's up to nearly 30,000 damage. And he's going to be ready to do it again in less than 10 seconds. He's not the only one shooting at the North Carolina, but he's the only one doing any appreciable amount of damage. Still giving broadside. Shots out again. Another 9 16-inch super-heavy armor-piercing shells. Can he repeat the Citadel? Oh, yes he can. That's another... Yeah, that's not bad. It's a fairly decent start. As far as the matchmaking's concerned, it's actually not bad. It's particularly favourable to battleships. There's only 2 destroyers per side. There's a pair of submarines, but there's no carrier. Well, except for the Kearsarge, the enemy team have managed to sneak a hybrid in under the radar. Shots out again at the North Carolina. He's actually... Is he slowing down? He's not making this hard, is he? And, yeah, fine. Not bad. 55,620 damage done so far. Almost all of it at the expense of that very unfortunate North Carolina. He's starting to angle in now, and he is returning fire. And the North Carolina's guns aren't bad either. They're also 16-inch. They also come with some fairly juicy armor-piercing shells, almost all of which missed. Oh well, never mind. Time for Baylithwin to do it again. You almost feel sorry for this guy, don't you? Almost. And again, yeah, fine. Return fire there from North Carolina's rear turret. Baylithwin's slowing down. He's entirely happy to just be fighting the North Carolina rather than or the rest of the enemy team over there. North Carolina in the turn. Some torpedoes. He's spotted them. He's dodged all but... No, I think he took 2. But Jaeger torpedoes individually, they do not hit particularly hard. He's taken another one. Boom! Headshot. There's the first blood award. And of course there's a bounty event going on, so it's also the Bounty Hunter award. And it's a fairly good start. Not only is that the first blood award, and obviously also the first kill, but the team have 2 of the 3 cap circles. Which means that shortly after the 5-minute mark, we're just a quarter of the way through this battle, Bailiffwin's team are ahead by nearly 300 points. Enemy team are flipping the cap down to the southwest at Alpha, however, and with the friendly Sturdy having depth charges on him, he's not contesting it. He's died, he's getting out of there. So the enemy team are probably going to take that cap down to the south, at least if whoever's in there capping it doesn't get reset, and that does... Oh, Yugamo! Yeah, this is bad. He's almost certainly launched torpedoes, ducking into cover behind the island there. Fortunately, Bailiffwin spotted him just in time, probably alerted by the sound of his secondaries opening up, and he immediately pulls a hard turn to starboard. Yep, sure enough, there are the torpedoes. And it's here where the Yugamo suffers from a sudden, inexplicable, and fatal rush of shit to the brain. I think he realised those torpedoes were going to miss. And then he decided, hang on a second, I have a torpedo reload booster. Was 100% safe behind the island, could have easily gotten out of here unscathed, chose violence instead, and he did land 2 that was only 2 torpedo hits. It's basically the exact opposite of the Jaeger. 2 torpedo hits shave off half of Bailiffwin's health. But now, of course, you've got a 2-minute torpedo reload. You now have to survive the next 2 minutes, and Bailiffwin has, of course, loaded high explosive. Which means it's now a very, very bad day to be in a Yugamo. He has multiple fires, the secondaries are battering him. If the fires don't get him, the secondaries will, and it's the fires, and there's the second kill. At the point where the Yugamo dies, the enemy team were down to less than 200 points, and Bailiffwin's team had a 400-point advantage. They still have 2 of the cap circles, and the enemy team have still not yet, although they are about to, flip that southwestern cap at Alpha. However, friendly Mets did just get torpedoed, buying the enemy team some breathing space. But they're still nearly 400 points behind. And then the enemy Los Andes, which is an excellent ship by the way, sinks the friendly Izumo, which isn't. I mean, the Izumo's not bad. It used to be kind of bad. Now it's fine. And it was the Los Andes secondaries that finished off the Izumo, which suggests that the actual sinking of the Izumo was more of a team effort on behalf of the enemy team. Still, the kills are even, but Bailiffwin's team are still 300 points ahead, and they still have a 1 cap circle advantage. Remember, said all those guys down at the southwest were going to die before the 10-minute mark. Well, if you're paying attention to the battle time, you'll see that there's less than 2.5 minutes to go before the 10-minute mark. So, yeah. It's amazing how quickly things can fall apart. Okay, meanwhile, here comes the Kearsarge. Oh, we're going to have some of that. And it's good. It's another 22,000 damage, but it's not quite enough to sink him. The team have just lost their own North Carolina, and the Sturdy, and the U-190 up there is about to have a very close and very unwelcome encounter with the enemy Salmon. The Kearsarge, hanging on by a thread with his repair party going, has remembered that he actually has 16-inch guns as well, and has inflicted a fair amount of damage on Bailiffwin here. Down to the southwest, the Southern Thunder and the Alsace are engaging in a game of chicken. Neither of them are blinking, and the exact same thing is happening up here between the Salmon and the U-190. The only difference being that the enemy Salmon actually survives the ram. The U-190, the friendly Southern Thunder, and the enemy Alsace do not. And as quickly as that, the enemy team are now less than 100 points behind. Jingles, you said nobody on the team down at the southwest was going to take a single enemy ship with them. The Southern Thunder took the Alsace with him. Did he? Did he though? Because I'd argue the case that it was in fact the Alsace who took the Southern Thunder with him, although your mileage may vary. After that utterly shambolic collapse down to the southwest, I'm just not feeling particularly generous, so I'm giving that one to the Alsace. We're not quite at the 10-minute mark though, and the Mogami, oh no, he's dead as well. Yeah. It's not looking good, is it? I mean, they were 400 points ahead not that long ago, and now the enemy team are... Well, I mean, Bailiffman's team do still have 2 cap circles, although probably not for much longer, but the enemy team are not far short of only 40 points behind. Which is pretty impressive, considering just 2 or 3 minutes ago they were at a 400-point deficit. Here comes the Mets. Oh, that was unfortunate. Basically 0 damage. And there's a submarine over there as well. That'll be the Salmon, of course. He was on very, very low health. He did just survive a ram with the U-190. Bailiffman is now in what we call a target-rich environment, which is generally not a good thing. He's going to try to finish off the Kearsarge. The Kearsarge is well angled though, so he raises his sights. Yeah, he's got him. Yeah, aiming at the waterline, they would have just bounced off the belt at that angle. He did eat a bunch of torpedoes there though. Bailiffman is hanging on by a thread. He's popped his radar. Not that... I don't think he believes there are actually any destroyers around that need radaring, but, well, typically when somebody's on low health and they think they're about to die, they pop every consumable they have, because why not? It's not like you can take them with you. Here comes the Mets. Looks like he might have been going for a ram, and then he turns. This could have been very, very dangerous, because the Mets is so new, I'm pretty sure most people don't know whether or not it does or doesn't have torpedoes. Okay, it doesn't have torpedoes. Always very suspicious when you see a cruiser sailing straight between 2 enemy ships, because it usually means a bunch of people are about to get torpedoed. But that didn't happen. The Mets does not have torpedoes. It does take out the friendly Mets though. Oh, Bailiffman just sailed right over the top of the submarine. There go the depth charges. Whoever's guns reload first is going to win this fight. It's not the enemy Mets. Depth charges away, he's scoring hits. It's only splash damage, no direct hits. That was really unlucky. The submarine survived. He's going to be on very, very low health though. Remember, he did just survive a ram with the U-190. He's probably going deep, which means he doesn't know exactly where Bailiffman is either. 9 seconds, Bailiffman can pop a heel. There's a bit of a plot twist coming up here. Remember that Salmon survived a ram with a U-190, and look at all the health it has. The hell? It doesn't get a heel. How is that even possible? He'd obviously popped up to try to reacquire Bailiffman as a target and finish him off, but didn't have the firing angles. Gave his position away. There go the depth charges. There's the kill. That's the Kraken Unleashed. 5 kills, 155,000 damage. So, good news, now they're only outnumbered 2 to 1. It's only 3 against 6. But the enemy team have just flipped the central cap at Bravo. One of the Jaegers is flipping the cap at Alpha. And thanks almost entirely to Bailiffman's superhuman efforts up here, they do still retain possession of the cap circle at Charlie. And by some miracle, they're still actually ahead on points. The bad news, aside from being outnumbered 2 to 1, but the really bad news is that sitting on around 11,000 health with 2 heals ready to go, Bailiffman can't actually use them. I mean, he can, but they wouldn't do anything because none of the damage that he's taken is healable. And he's getting pounded by those enemy ships. I mean, he pops the heel now, but it's really not doing an awful lot. Although Flipper over there, and the Jaeger did just manage to pull a kill back. Oh! Haligonian just pulled a kill back as well. Although, with the heals on cooldown, and less than 5,000 hit points. Although he has managed to go... No, he's spotted again, which means the very next incoming salvo is extremely likely to finish Bailiffman off. If he can just take that Mets down with him. 6 kills would be nice. I'm sure the 2 Jaegers would appreciate it. Oh crap, here it comes. And it's high explosive, so it doesn't care about ricochet angles. You can angle all you like. The high explosive is still going to hurt. The shots don't kill him. But since he's using Bill Halsey as his captain, you can tell by the coloured traces and the fact that it's an American ship, the hits on the Mets over there just triggered the Confederate ward, which activated the talent that reduces the main gun battery reload, allowing him to get a second salvo off on the Mets right as the Mets returns fire, which he probably wouldn't have been able to if not for that talent. There's kill number 6, another Citadel, but the torpedoes are going to finish him off. Bailiffman, you can relax. You can lie down and rest your back. Your watch is over, my son. Now it's down to your 2 surviving teammates, HMS Flipper 1 and Haligonian, in the 2 Jaegers. And it's 2 on 2. And the team are still ahead on points, although they no longer control a single cap circle. So here's Flipper 1 in the first Jaeger. He's flipping the cap at Alpha. He's taking a bit of a beating. But the Jaeger is an incredibly stealthy destroyer. It really does have stupidly good stealth, which is both good news and bad news, because while there's 2 Jaegers surviving on Bailiffman's team, HMS Flipper 1 here and Haligonian, there's also a Jaeger on the enemy team, with exactly the same stealth. So while Flipper has taken the cap at Alpha, Haligonian's going to attempt to do the same thing over here at Bravo, and he should be reasonably safe doing it because somebody on the enemy team has just flipped the cap at Charlie, and it's probably not the Los Andes. Which means Haligonian should be safe to take this cap circle here at Bravo. They do have a points lead. It's not as big as it was earlier, but they do still have a points lead. But in order to hold on to that points lead, they need to prevent the enemy team from gaining any more points. Sounds obvious, but, well, sometimes it really does need spelling out. And you do that by contesting the enemy cap circles and not dying. The issue is, while Haligonian is on full health, we have no idea how many hit points the enemy Jaeger has. No idea how many hit points the Los Andes has either. And it takes a lot of torpedoes from a Jaeger to sink a battleship. In fact, it takes quite a few torpedoes from a Jaeger to sink another Jaeger if it's on full hit points. Flipping the cap like this, they are of course telegraphing their locations to the 2 surviving enemy ships. The issue here for Haligonian is that if the enemy Jaeger is heading this way, and why would he not be heading this way, they're going to detect each other at the exact same time. And that's a Los Andes on the enemy team. And the secondaries on that thing are brutal. Huge damage, great range. So Haligonian and HMS Flipper 1 here are both praying that the enemy team are not working together. Somebody's contesting Bravo. Haligonian, you're in trouble. There's the Los Andes. Is he spotted? The Los Andes is inside secondary gun battery range, and they're not firing, which means he is not spotted, but he can't afford to get spotted, so he just dumps his torpedoes and he evacuates the cap circle. This is still fine, because they do still have a 300-point lead, and there's only slightly less than 3 minutes of this battle remaining. As long as they can hold on to the cap at Alpha, they don't actually need to sink anything. In fact, they can probably give up the cap at Bravo as well. But the temptation of being able to land some torpedoes on a nice big fat stupid battleship appears to have clouded their judgment. Oh, and there's the enemy Jaeger. This is not good. This is not good at all. Not really Haligonian's fault. I mean, he did the right thing. He saw the threat posed by the Los Andes over there, dumped his torpedoes and ran, but he is spotted, and he is inside secondary gun battery range, which means this is a 2-on-1 fight, and if the torpedoes don't, and they don't, nobody ever won a gunfight in a Jaeger. You might be thinking, well, why is he shooting? Well, he has exactly the same stealth, exactly the same speed, exactly the same guns, exactly the same everything as the Jaeger, but the Jaeger has backup from the Los Andes, so he can't disengage. And while he managed to miss the enemy Jaeger with most of his torpedoes, the enemy Jaeger, well, it still managed to miss him with most of its torpedoes, but it scored enough hits to mean that, yeah, this is not looking good for Haligonian. Not looking good at all. He can't disengage. He's probably got no smoke left, and even if he did, the enemy Jaeger just chases him through the smoke, reacquires him and finishes him off again. The hit point disparity was just too much. Which means it's down to HMS Flipper 1. Still ahead. 200-point advantage. 1 minute and 13 seconds of this battle remaining. The enemy Jaeger has no idea, unless he's been talking to the Los Andes, who saw Flipper's torpedoes, the enemy Jaeger has no idea where Flipper is. So the only thing that he can do, and he is doing it, is flipping that central cap at Bravo. But it's not going to be enough. A 1 cap circle advantage in the time remaining, which is now less than a minute, ain't going to be enough to pull back a 200-point difference. Which means they need to find him and kill him. And Flipper got the memo. He's getting the hell out of there. I mean, to be fair to Haligonian, he was attempting to get the hell out of there. it's not like he was doing anything wrong. He wasn't trying to win harder. He was trying to disengage and get out of there. He just had really unlucky timing. Getting caught when he did, where he did, by the enemy Jaeger. Unfortunately for the enemy Jaeger, he can't be in two places at once. He can either deal with Haligonian, which he did, or he can deal with HMS Flipper 1. And since he doesn't know where HMS Flipper 1 is, the only thing he can do now is try to flip this central cap at Bravo, which is not going to be enough. In fact, looking at the timer, he's not going to be able to do that. He really needed Flipper to do something very, very stupid. Oh, they spotted each other right after the battle timer had ended. Oh, it was that close to being a defeat. The enemy Jaeger actually found him, but it was after the timer had expired. There was nothing he could do. What a game. I mean, extremely well played, obviously, to Bailiffwood and the Missouri. 2,500 base XP and 6 kills, but extremely well done also to all three of the Jaegers in this battle. Not just HMS Flipper 1 and Haligonian on Bailiffwood's team, but the enemy Jaeger never put a foot wrong. 3 kills and 1,300 base experience for the enemy Jaeger on a defeat. Man, that's got to sting. But I guess if you have to lose, regardless of how well you did while losing, at least lose because you got outplayed by better players. Not because your team was so monumentally bad that it was impossible to win. Which was almost the case for Bailiffwood, HMS Flipper 1 and Haligonian. Almost, but not quite. Hope you all enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.